Hello, welcome once again to the Constitution Study. My name is Paul Engel. We are here today to read and study our Constitution and to teach the rising generation to be free. In short, we are here to return the Constitution to its rightful owners, that is, we the people of the United States of America. I am glad you could join me today. I got an interesting episode today, kind of a continuation of last week's, but before we get there, I want to make sure that you know you're welcome here. I'm glad you're here. If you are new to the Constitution Study, I'm glad you showed up. I hope you'll thank whoever pointed you this way, that it was worth your time. I'm going to encourage you to head over to the website, constitutionstudy.com. You can find other episodes, you can find articles, and you can find other news about what's going on in the Constitution Study. I encourage you to do two things. One, ask questions. You'll find a question button in the top menu. And it's really important. It does two things. One, it does help me make sure I'm on the right path. I'm doing what needs to be done. I'm answering your questions, or you're challenging me on something that I've said. We want to make sure that it's true. That is the ultimate goal. The other thing is it's material. I often will take your questions and use that as fodder for articles on the website or for podcast episodes. And, who knows, if it's a really good question and there's a really good interaction, I may just have you on an episode of the Constitution Study to discuss your question. The other thing I'd like you to do is sign up for the mailing list. You'll see that on the right-hand side of the website. It will keep you up to date with what's going on with the Constitution Study. And if you do so today, you'll get a free copy of my latest essay on the Bill of Rights. Mine's a little fuzzy today. You'll get a free version of the Bill of Rights, which is an essay on the first 10 amendments in the Constitution, absolutely free. If you are a returning guest, hey, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you found it at least worthwhile enough to come back and try again. Just like the new people, head over to the website. You can share what I'm doing. That's really what I'm trying to spend a lot more time on, is not just doing this, but helping encourage people to share. You can find me on Facebook. You can find it on YouTube. You can find the channel on LinkedIn if you want to share what's going on here with others. You can also go up to Amazon. If you go to amazon.com/author/Paul Engel, you'll see all the papers and essays that I've written. All the books that I'm written will come out there. And encourage it to share with others. Let others know that there are people that care about the Constitution. There's a place that they can learn about the Constitution and what it actually says, not what some professor wants to make it say. And we can discuss interesting things like my topic today. If you listened last week, I called that episode Thugocracy because more and more our nation seems to be run by the thugs in the street rather than the politician in Washington. Today, I'm taking it to the next step. See, that made me think, and I started looking at not just the thugs, but I started looking at Washington. And really, Washington today reminds me of those old Westerns I used to watch as a kid. I was watching a Western the other day, and all I could think of was, well, gee, isn't this Washington? You know the Westerns I'm talking about. There's a town, and it's being run by a gang of criminals, and they're getting beat up, and all the townsfolk are afraid. If they dare to stand up, they're at least they're going to get beat up. They may get killed. And, the bullies are just in charge. And it kind of reminds me of Washington today. You see, Washington does not follow the law, doesn't follow the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. Instead, our elected leaders act like those criminals. It's not a question of what's legal or not, it's what they can get away with. And if anyone dares to stand up to them, well, these bullies will drag you through the court, fine you, jail you, take your homes and farms, and then, just for good measure, they'll destroy not only your reputation, but that of your family as well. And why does our government treat the people that way? Well, in the name of keeping us safe and maintaining law and order. No, really they're just doing it in the name of maintaining their illegal empire. You see, when our founding fathers created this nation, they wanted to create a government of laws, not of men. Sadly, today, our government is one of men and women who disregard the law whenever it seems convenient. Like the criminals in my Westerns, the law isn't applied to them. They're allowed to get away with anything they want to. And much like the townsfolk in those same Westerns, the people of the United States are unwilling to stand up for their rights because they're afraid. They're afraid of the consequences. They're afraid of what will happen to them if they do. So think about your favorite Western. How many of those involve an abused set of people that needed to be rescued? They needed someone to come help them, pull them together, show them that not only could someone stand up to these bullies, but if they stood up together, they could take back their town. You know, whether your favorite Western had 1 hero, 2 heroes, 4 heroes, 7 heroes, the story's the same. The heroes stand up to the bullies, they fight a difficult fight, and somewhere along the way, the people of the town learn that they can stand up and defend their friends and their families themselves. See, our nation was to be run by and for the people, and the government was to be created to protect our rights. However, today, government seems to exist primarily to exercise and expand their power. Their power not just in what they can do, but their power over the people themselves. See, if you feel like the townsfolk in one of those Westerns, the good news is you've recognized the problem. The question now is, what will you do about it? You see, there are people today standing up to our out-of-control government, but they're not enough. Like our Westerns where 1 or 2 good people try to stand up to the bullies, there just aren't enough of them to protect themselves. And that's where we come in. See, Americans once realized not only our need to defend our rights, but our responsibility to control our government. Abraham Lincoln said in a speech, the people are the rightful masters of both Congress and courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert it. Have you really wrapped your head around that? We, the people, are the rightful masters of Congress. We are in charge of Congress, and we are in charge of the courts. Again, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to throw the bums out who pervert the Constitution. Have enough heroes shown up to rally the American people to stand up to our bullies in Washington. Actually, not just in Washington, but in your state capitals as well. To stand up to them not on the battlefield or with bullets, but at the ballot box. Are we prepared to stand together and overthrow the people who have perverted our Constitution? The fight will be long and it will be hard, but few things worth doing are easy. When this broadcast, the election will have happened, but it hasn't happened yet. But I'm pretty sure most of the incumbents in Congress will be returned. Are they worthy of that position? Are you controlling those who you are master of or not? You see, we're fighting not just for our rights, but for those of our children and their children as well. Is that reason enough for you to stand with us, to stand up to the bullies? As everyday Americans begin to stand up to the abuses of our government, will you stand with them? Or will you cower behind closed doors, praying that the government will leave you alone? I believe it was Governor Brownback who said he would stand up for Kansans who followed Kansas law in violation of an illegal law from Congress, who backed down as soon as the Fed showed up. That's not what we need. We need people, when they stand up to the abuses in Congress, people to stand with them. When the courts get out of control, people to stand with them. The choice is yours. Do you want a government of laws or one of tyrants? You know, our national anthem refers to us as the land of the free and the home of the brave. How free are we when our government officials that we're supposed to be in charge of bully us, get what they want by intimidation? How brave are we when we sit back and let it happen to others and ourselves? That's the question, folks. That's part of what the Constitution study is all about. I started this so that we could learn what our rights are and learn how to defend them. Learn how to stand up for our rights and for the rights of others. And all it takes is a little bit of research to learn what's actually there. Abraham Lincoln was right. We are in charge. You know what that means, that when we are in charge? If we're in charge of the bullies, they're bullying for us. So the next time you say, well, there's nothing I can do, the government is in charge. Yeah, that's your government. That's your representatives. That's you. I don't care if you voted for them or not. Did you do anything besides show up on a November Tuesday morning and said, yep, I'll check the box for the right party? Did you have an R after your name or a D after your name? I don't really care what you do. I don't care if you're constitutional, but if you're at the right party, That's part of the mess. I'm tired of cowering and watching others cower. I'm here to stand up for my rights, and I'm wondering if you will too. Are you tired of government ignoring the Constitution when it's inconvenient? Are you tired of the courts perverting the law to get what they want? Are you tired of politicians and their acolytes bullying people and harassing people to get what they want? Are you tired of the law just not mattering except when it's used against you? Then it's time, Americans, to stand up. Let's head to the street. Let's head to Main Street, and let's stand up for what is right. Not with guns, not with bullets, not with bats, but with votes. It's time to hold our elected officials accountable. And if they're not going to do their job, then they don't deserve a job. And it's time to throw those bums out. So, I don't know about you, but that one really got me riled up. It made me think of how many times I've seen people have their rights abused. And what have I done about it? Have I gone to help? Have I stood side by side with someone who's being abused in the courts or abused by government? Have I sent any money to help them with their legal defense? Have I done anything? Have you? Let's stop sitting on our tails and waiting for someone else to fix the problem for us. Let's take control of the government we are the rightful masters of. Let us do it legally. Let us do it morally. And let us do it not to get what we want, but to enforce the law of the Constitution. I hope to see you in the streets standing up for some good man or woman who is standing up for their rights. And I hope to see you again the next time on the Constitution Study.